Hello and welcome to the next episode of What Happens in Marketing, the show where we peel back the curtain and introduce you to the storytellers behind the stories, going into what makes Las Vegas a great city for marketers and for consumers alike. I'm Tom Heaton with the Las Vegas Innovation Marketing Association, and I'm excited to be able to welcome you to an episode where we're going to go into a topic that's at the core of Las Vegas, sports betting. Something that really has been a stranglehold for Las Vegas for a long time in the legal sense, where we were able to really control the market. And in the last decade or so, we've started to see that change. Is a very simple way of looking at the evolution that we're seeing currently. And I'm excited today to welcome Jeff Benson with Circa Sports to be able to talk a little bit more about where we're going, what we're doing, and help us all as marketers understand how we can tap into this phenomenon of this sports betting evolution. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Absolutely. We're excited to be able to dig deeper. And let's set the tone a little bit in the sense of just get our audience on the same page of what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Like, walk us through how that looks.
Yeah, I'm the director of operations here for Circa Sports. For me, my day-to-day is, the beauty of the job is it's different every day. We do operate here in Las Vegas, both in a retail and online capacity, in addition to the other four states that we're operating in, which is Kentucky, Iowa, Illinois, and Colorado. So, for me, I'm overseeing the day-to-day operations of the business, overseeing what our marketing endeavors are, doing a lot of stuff on social media as it relates to Twitter in terms of reaching out to bettors, really just trying to foster and build a community, and really highlight what makes Circa Sports different than some of these other operators. So for me, being here in the building, being in the sports book, being in the thick of things, and really being able to kind of interact daily with both our team and our customers, as they come in and they look for answers and look to bet, and all of that kind of stuff. That's really what I would sum up as my day-to-day in terms of what I'm doing here at Circa Sports.
There's a lot to consider there. I mean, you sum it up very succinctly, but I think we know that there's a lot that goes into those factors. Data and technology have really played a role in that in the last decade or so. Can you kind of walk us through what sort of impacts that data and technology set is and when it comes to influencing your day-to-day?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously, for me, I came out here in 2012, got started in the industry. So it's, been going on, 12, 13 years now. But, what the industry was back then versus what it is now, two very, very different things. I think, obviously, when I came out here, after graduating college, legalized wagering, that wasn't something that was readily available across most states in the country. If you wanted to bet legally, you really had to come out to Las Vegas to do that. And I think, as you alluded to, with the proliferation of technology and with the continued increase in legalization, the days of, walking up and down the strip and going from book to book to book, those are very different days, and those are kind of in the rear view. I think nowadays, a lot of people are looking at the odds screens. They have a sports book in the palm of their hands. They're able to log into all these different apps or websites. So I think that's really kind of a lot of how the industry's changed. It's not segregated anymore to Nevada. It's nationwide. The marketing and the advertising and the PR, the deals with these sportsbook operators getting involved with these teams. That certainly changed the game. But I just think the way the industry is trending towards digitalization, gone are a lot of the, traditional brick and mortar sports books, which are really trying to drive traffic to those places outside of, our 3-story sports book, here at Circa Las Vegas, and obviously our world's largest pool amphitheater at Stadium Swim. But, I think nowadays most companies just kind of tuck the sports book, in a back room or, back corner of a casino. And it's not something that's as important to them, just because so many people are betting online and through their mobile apps these days.
Yeah, it's definitely changed the game for how people are betting on sports. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how that's changed the way that you go and you want to acquire new bettors. You mentioned people walking up and down the strip going from sportsbook to sportsbook. Clearly, that's not necessarily the case, and you have a way to both connect them a little bit more quickly with a digital ad or through the mobile device. But that also means everybody else does too. So how has that changed your approach when we talk about attracting new players to Circa Sports?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a little bit different when you look at our non-Nevada states versus our Nevada state, just based on the fact that here in Nevada, you got to sign up in person versus the other states where you can sign up remotely, do everything through the app from the comfort of your own home. So I think, with any business, you've got to figure out, who the customer you're targeting is. And then ultimately, the best way to go about targeting them. So obviously, our message may be a little bit different here in Nevada in terms of driving them to our casinos, whereas outside of Nevada, that message may change a little bit given in most of the places we operate, we don't have retail sports books. So, I think ultimately what we're selling is very similar, but figuring out how to word that based on the jurisdiction and the rules and regulations in those jurisdictions where we're operating is certainly important. I think for us, we're not the only player in the space. So figuring out how to differentiate ourselves, relative to a lot of the other operators, particularly some of the big boys when you think about DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, Caesars of the world, they're going to ultimately have more marketing dollars to spend. They're going to be able to do more commercials, more ads, more targeting, than we otherwise would. So I think for us, being able to ultimately figure out where we fit in and how we can make the biggest difference relative to that dollar is certainly important. I think for us, we've really leaned into social media, particularly Twitter. I think gambling Twitter, there's a large subsection of people who enjoy gambling Twitter. And, I think for me and our corporate account, we're very active, on Twitter in terms of promoting why we're different, in terms of the fact that we take bets from, winning bettors. Our limits are big, our prices are good. Being able to focus on some of that through that channel. We've seen really good return on our investment and time there. And I think that's not really something that's being done, by a lot of other companies. They don't have, somebody of my ilk who's, answering every single question, responding to every single inquiry. And, when you look at a lot of these places, it's just very cookie cutter when it comes to social media. And I think nowadays, people have questions, they want answers, and, being able to have somebody up top within an organization who's able to answer a lot of that stuff, we've seen that has gone a long way for Circa Sports.
Yeah, it's great to see that differentiator that you are bringing into the market. And I think what you're talking about there is also a message that a lot of us can relate to. You're basically being tasked with the idea of covering more with maybe a little bit less budget than you could be getting elsewhere that other people are spending. And that's something that we all have to be aware of and cognizant of as we go through all of the marketing that we're trying to do. As things are getting tighter with different markets, different expansion that we're trying to do across other states, it can be a little bit more difficult. And if you're not super honed in on exactly what you're trying to do, it can definitely make things tougher for you in the long run. I'm curious, as you mentioned some of those things, specifically the pool, the 3-story sports book, things that are very much hey, you got to come in, you got to experience this here in Las Vegas. You also mentioned that you've got the 4 other states that you're able to run your business in. How do you separate the messaging there and maybe some of the key differentiators that play really well here in a local market that don't necessarily play well, in, let's say, a Colorado, for example, where you can't just come down to the sports book? What are you doing to differentiate those audiences and talk to them about the different values that Circa can bring?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think when you think about Nevada as a whole, and Circa Las Vegas, it's the first, brand new casino in downtown Las Vegas in 40 years. It's $1 billion property. And what we're really trying to sell there is, experiences, coming out, being able to watch a game. You don't have to go to the stadium. You can watch it in the 3-story sports book and get that same feel, that same energy, that same electricity. If you're a pool slash, club person and you enjoy watching sports outside, going up to the world's largest pool amphitheater and being able to watch, a UFC event, or a big boxing card, or an NFL Sunday, or a March Madness. Those are things and experiences, that really drive traffic and really drive bodies. So I think here in Nevada, what we're predominantly selling is, more of an experience, something that's really tangible and in person. Whereas when you look outside of Nevada to our non-Nevada states, that messaging changed because it's not as experiential. So I think outside of Nevada, the messaging changes to, what are we doing different versus the other operators in those same jurisdictions? And I think for us, it's being able to allow everybody to bet, whether you're a winning bettor or a losing bettor. You're able to bet high limits, which a lot of other places don't give you. And then ultimately the prices that we're offering, when you think about a future book offering, props, money line straddles, things like that, our prices are the best in the business. So in terms of people who enjoy value, getting the cheapest gas or, the best steak for the best price, being able to relate some of those value propositions to what we're offering from a sports betting perspective, I would say those are the two messages, when you think about Nevada versus non-Nevada.
That's great. And I'm loving hearing some of these insights here. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and I want to talk a little bit more about how you maintain that brand presence there. And then let's talk about the future of where we're going to go. So join us real quick after a quick break here and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to What Happens in Marketing. We're here with Jeff Benson of Circa Sports. And we just got to hear about how, Jeff, you mentioned the difference between what you're doing locally and what you're doing in other states. Marketing wise, it's good to know how you can talk to those different audiences, but it's also crucial to get the brand alignment across those messages. And love to hear you talk about how you maintain the great brand that you have with Circa Sports, even when you are talking to different audiences in different states about, frankly, different things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you think about Nevada, you think about our CEO and owner, Derek Stevens. He's somebody who's on the casino floor, every single day. He's at the bar having a drink with players. He's up at Stadium Swim in the book watching a game, sweating a bet or sweating the results, just like everybody else is. So I think when you think about kind of what we've done to build our brand, specifically at Circa and specifically at Circa Sports, I think people can relate to who we are, just because we're so focal and out there. I think people, they see Derek, they recognize him, they know who he is, they run into him, inside the casino. I think that's something, between him and Mike Palm, we've had a visibility here, from some of our top, executives, and I think when you look at outside Nevada, a lot of the stuff that we do on social media, from our corporate account, to our former director, Matt Metcalf, to what I'm doing, in terms of answering questions. I think in a lot of places, when you think about sports books, you have no idea who runs these companies. You have no idea who takes these bets. When you think about a Caesars, I don't know anybody at Caesars. You think about a BetMGM, I don't know anybody at BetMGM. So, being able to associate, a face with a name, I think it really humanizes the process and it's really helped us build the brand. A lot of times, I'm on the line and I'm dealing with customers and they come up and they say, oh, I know you from Twitter, or, I saw you, when you were on VSiN, or, is Derek here, and things like that. I think that, interaction, that we have with our players, has really gone a long way in terms of building our brand. And I think brand, integrity is really important. Obviously, the messaging may be a little bit different when you think about the different states that we're in and what we're trying to offer and convey to the customer. But I think just generally speaking, people being able to put a face to a name, and it not being some big faceless, nameless corporate conglomeration, I think that's something that's really gone a long way for us in terms of the amount of interactions that we have with our players.
Yeah, it's a great way to be able to have that interaction there that you mentioned about, and really just the personalization that comes along with it that is unique. And I imagine that also probably brings a fair amount of challenge with that as well. And I know that's a strategy that I've heard from other brands around town that they try to employ. And I would guess that there's probably similar sort of challenges that you've incurred. And I would just ask you if you had to pull up one off the top of your head, what's one of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced when trying to maintain that brand?
I mean, scaling, you're only one person or, a collective group of people, being able to, as your business grows, make sure the level of product or the level of interaction that you have with people, that continues. And, I think consistency is really important in any business. So, what you provide on day one, being able to provide the same level, of offering or the same level of interaction or the same level of, marketing or brand integrity or whatever that may be, being able to have the same, level of offering, day 100, day 1,000, day 10,000. I think those are things that are important because I think when people get used to a certain thing, being able to carry that forward and offer the same product, I think is really important.
Absolutely. And that helps you maintain that longevity that's going to allow you to continue well into the future. And I'd love to shift our focus a little bit into the future here. Now, as we've already seen this massive evolution in sports betting, we know that it's going to continue to change. What are you and Circa Sports doing to stay ahead of the curve a little bit as we see the future of sports betting evolving?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, where the industry is trending as a whole. I still think we're in the first or second inning, as funny as that may be. I mean, obviously, when I moved out here in 2012, things weren't legal, say 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, that switch got flipped a little bit. And now obviously, there's probably 30 plus states where you can make a legal bet. So I think generally speaking, as I talked about earlier, I think retail sports books, that's becoming more of a thing of the past. It's figuring out how to connect with people, build a community. And I think, as you continue to look at the trends around the country, people are looking to play on websites and or mobile apps. So, figuring out how to build technology that supports that, figuring out how to scale and, operate in more than just, 1, 2, 3, 4 states, and really, be able to grow our market share with the most, reasonable and responsible marketing as it relates to our dollar spend versus, what the ROI on that is, and ultimately how to connect, with players or prospective customers, just continuing to figure out how we can differentiate ourselves in the space. Because I think, when you look around, there's a lot of recreational books that are all trying to do the same thing. So I think obviously we're coming at it from a little bit of a different perspective in terms of being a sharp book, looking to take on all comers. And, but even doing so, figuring out what that messaging is, why we don't offer as many markets, why we take bigger bets in the markets we do offer, and ultimately figure out how to grow our customer.
Yeah, you mentioned in there technologies and how that's changing. I'd be curious. You guys seem like you've got a really good finger on the pulse for what's going on with the brand and everything like that. What are you looking to when it comes to emerging technologies, emerging trends that you think could really impact the sports betting industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's just the industry is so fresh and new. I mean, I think when you think about like a lot of the things that have happened recently, with marketing and advertising and, player props and, NIL and college, I don't really know that, the space could look completely different in 3 to 5 years. If you asked me 10 years ago, a sports book partnering with, a sports team and then building a sports book within the arena, those are things that were just so foreign. So I think the industry is quickly evolving. I can't really pinpoint, one trend or, one thing. I would just say that the industry is so, nascent in terms of what it's ultimately going to look like. I think as operators and, regulators work together to figure out what the space looks like for the consumer, it'll be interesting to kind of see what that end game is. So I do think there could be some rules and restrictions as it relates to PR and advertising and in-game betting and player props and all these different things. But I definitely think we're going to see some regulation as it relates to the industry because it's continued to grow and it's probably bigger than people would have thought originally. And it's not getting smaller anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to have a major impact on both the local economy and hopefully our ability to continue to bring people in from maybe somebody that would start on a sports betting app and get the idea that, hey, maybe I really do need to come down and experience this thing in 3D. And we bring in new people into the market as well. I'm curious in the sense that you mentioned the partnerships there. I'd love to hear from you in terms of like the partnerships that you are currently exploring and maybe that you see as a potential in the future for Circa that would be a little bit further outside of the norm of what we've expected in the past.
Yeah, I think for us, we're just so different than the DraftKings and FanDuels of the world. I think they're looking to have brand ambassadors. I think they're looking to partner with sports books and other sports teams and big players in the media space and things like that. I think for us, that's not really something that we're looking for. I think we're looking to kind of find our own niche, build our own brand through the individuals we have, within our own organization, starting with Derek and Mike Palm and myself and the rest of our team. I think it's more of a slow and organic growth, than maybe some of the other operators who, throw money at the Shaqs or the, Jamie Foxxes of the world. I don't really know if that sort of marketing, really hits home or, helps grow our specific market share and or the operators who are doing that, their market share. I think you are going to see a lot of books, dialing back, that marketing spend and, maybe putting that into, technology or trading, or some other different avenues that they think they can get a better return on their investment. Because I think with where we're at right now in the, general advertising and marketing space, is I think, you're seeing these companies just, pay actors and athletes and all of that stuff. And I don't know that that's really helping drive specific customers to a book. If DraftKings is paying LeBron James, they're probably paying him a pretty good chunk of change. And, I don't know that anyone's going to play at DraftKings because, LeBron James is, on a commercial. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But I think for us, we're just trying to focus on, organically, fostering our relationship with our customers. And, that's kind of been our approach and it's been successful so far.
Absolutely. I enjoy hearing just the authenticity in your voice, even as you speak about the brand. I think that's definitely a great takeaway for us as we've heard that across the board from a lot of different industries, especially here in Vegas. Authenticity really drives home the point to your client and allows you to have that unique relationship with your customer base. So bring us home, Jeff. As we talk about the industry as a whole, you've had some great points here, thinking about what we can do when we are tasked with doing more with less as technology is evolving around us, as we're continuing to maintain our goal of the branding throughout the changes within the economy, through the industry, everything else. Let's talk real quick on, give us the last piece of advice that you have for us as marketers as you think about what is going to be different for you and your role going forward. What would you tell yourself and the rest of us as we look to the future?
Yeah, I would say that, probably two things that are really important to us are consistency and transparency. I think just trying to be consistent in terms of the product, the offering, our interactions with our players, from where we are today to where we look to go. Obviously, some of the things we've done up to this point have, really hit home with people. And so continuing to go about things in the same manner, and being able to offer people the exact same product, I think is going to be particularly important. And then I think in any business, particularly one, where there's a lot of marketing components, transparency is something that's super important. I know you mentioned the word, authenticity just now. For me, everything I do, I try to be as transparent as possible. Everything Circa Sports does, we try to be as transparent as possible. Making sure that your customer knows fully what's going on, is something that can't be understated. So I think those are the things that, we really try to focus on here at Circa Sports: consistency and transparency. And, I think if we're able to, really build on those two aspects, of our business and our marketing, I think that's going to help us really gain some market share as we, look to build in the sports betting space.
Great takeaways there, Jeff. Love the idea of consistency, transparency. I think those are definitely tenets that we can all take and be able to apply to our day to day. So, Jeff, thank you very much. We really appreciate your time as you come down and talk to us here. We look forward to seeing you around the sports book here locally in town, and as we know now, more out of state and nationally as well. So thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you all for joining us for this episode of What Happens in Marketing. We'll see you in the next episode.